Let's talk about something that the mainstream media is once again trying to avoid, something that Republican operatives and right-wing propagandists are desperately trying to bury, and that is the very real, very serious, and very alarming deterioration of Donald Trump's physical and mental health. Because now, for the first time, Democratic leadership in the House is saying out loud what millions of Americans have been thinking for months. House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries is calling for congressional investigations into Donald Trump's health, and not in some abstract way, but specifically into whether Donald Trump is capable of continuing to serve as president and whether the 25th Amendment should be considered. And this didn't come out of nowhere. This follows Trump's increasingly bizarre public behavior, his constant contradictions about his own medical tests, and what multiple doctors are now saying doesn't add up. Let's start with what Jeffries said. Jeffries made it clear that Congress is not supposed to be a rubber stamp for the president. Congress is a separate and co-equal branch of government. It doesn't work for Donald Trump. It doesn't work for J.D. Vance. It doesn't work for billionaire donors. It works for the American people. And if the president's ability to do the job is in question, Congress has a constitutional duty to investigate. But here's the problem. James Comer, Jim Jordan, and the Republican leadership that runs House Oversight and House Judiciary are too cowardly to do their jobs. They spent years obsessing over Joe Biden, inventing fake scandals, running sham investigations, and now that the sitting president is visibly struggling, suddenly they've gone silent. Crickets. And what is Donald Trump doing while this is happening? He's lying, constantly. He gave an interview to the Wall Street Journal where he claims he's not falling asleep in meetings, despite video after video showing him doing exactly that. He says it's not sleeping, it's blinking. Blinking. He also claimed that he had a perfect MRI, not once, not twice, but repeatedly, bragging about it as proof of his health. And now suddenly he says he never had an MRI. Now it was a CT scan of the heart and abdomen. These are not the same thing. An MRI takes up to 45 minutes. A CT scan takes about 45 seconds. And yet Trump and his own doctors somehow confuse them? That alone should set off alarm bells. You don't mix those up by accident. Not if you're a doctor. Not if you're being honest. And that's just the beginning. Trump is also walking around with bruised, discolored hands, covered in bandages. He claims he gets whacked a lot, whatever that's supposed to mean. Then he says he takes 325 milligrams of aspirin every day because he wants thin blood. That is not normal. Doctors are now saying that dosage is medically unjustified for long-term use, unless there was a recent heart attack or serious cardiac procedure. And even then, it's usually only for a few days before switching to a baby aspirin. That high dosage causes bruising. It increases bleeding risk. It's dangerous at his age. So now we have unexplained bruising, an abnormal medication regimen, and a president who can't even keep his own medical story straight. And when pressed, instead of being transparent, Trump lies again. We also have video of Trump at cabinet meetings with his eyes closed, his head drooping, clearly asleep, while aides and officials talk around him. Trump claims he was just blinking. You can judge that for yourself. But doctors aren't laughing. Dr. Vin Gupta, who leads Midas Health, has been blunt. None of this makes sense. He says nobody gets an MRI of just the torso for routine prevention. And now that the administration is walking that back and saying it was a CT scan of the heart and abdomen, the confusion becomes even alarming. Gupta also points out that Trump had coronary calcifications back in 2018, evidence of heart disease, and now suddenly they're claiming everything is normal without explaining how. That doesn't add up. And then there's the cognitive side of this. Trump keeps bragging about passing the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, the MoCA test. But here's what people need to understand. That is not a bragging test. It is a screening tool used to detect mild cognitive impairment and early dementia. They give it to people when they're worried something is wrong. They don't give it over and over unless they're monitoring decline. So why does Trump keep talking about it? Dr. Gupta says it raises more questions than it answers, because passing it once proves nothing. Passing it repeatedly suggests they're tracking something. And now Trump's own family is speaking out. His nephew, Fred Trump III, has said that dementia runs in the family. Donald's father had it, his sister had it, his cousin had it. Fred says Trump today reminds him of what he saw in those family members as they declined. The confusion, the inability to stay on message, the erratic behavior. He says he knows the warning signs. And what does Fox News do? They roll out a so-called doctor to say everything is perfectly normal. Bruising is just from golf, aspirin is fine, Trump is sharper than everyone else because he talks a lot. This is propaganda, and the American people aren't stupid. So here's where we are. The president can't explain his own medical tests. His medication makes no sense. He's visibly struggling in public. Doctors are raising red flags. His own family is expressing concern. And yet the Republican Party wants you to pretend nothing is happening. Hakeem Jeffries is right. Congress has a duty to investigate this now, not in 2 years, not after another election, not when it's too late. Because the presidency is not a reality show. It is not a loyalty cult. It is the most powerful office in the world. And if the person sitting in that office is no longer capable of doing the job, the Constitution gives us a mechanism to deal with it. The only question is whether Republicans will keep covering it up or whether the truth will finally come out. I'll let you decide.